Welcome to Bernadette Yoga and Wellness. And for today, we will be working on Sun Salutation A or Surya Namaskar A. If you've been practicing for a while, you will know that Sun Salutation A is done during a flow so many times. So I feel like this is something that we need to break down, especially if you're new to the practice, so that you know how each pose is being done properly, and also so that you can modify the pose to make it work for your body. Also, I'd like to encourage you to be patient in the process. Try to do the poses with integrity, because it's actually harder once you're already used to doing it improperly and having to undo it. So if you need to modify along the way to lower your knees or to bend your knees, that's totally fine, and eventually your body will be ready to do the full-on pose, or maybe not, and you can keep modifying, and that's totally fine. The important thing is that you enjoy the journey and you really explore your body so that you get to know it really well. Starting off with the first pose, which is Tadasana or mountain pose. So just like the name of the pose, which is mountain, you would like your Tadasana to be really strong and stable. So we're starting off with your feet either hip width apart or feet together, whichever feels really stable for you. So I feel like there shouldn't be a hard rule that your feet should be together when you actually feel unstable. You can bring them apart and really ground your feet down, all four corners of your feet, starting with lifting your toes up so that you can really feel the mounds of the feet rooted down, and also your heels. And from there, like, straighten your legs by pressing your thighs back, and at the same time lengthening your tailbone down towards your heels. So your legs are engaged here. So both actions at the same time, thighs pressing back, tailbone down, okay? And lifting your frontal hip bones up, so there's a little bit of tone in your lower belly. And from here, like, broaden your chest, like across the collarbones. So you're not rounding your shoulders, instead doing the opposite. And the tendency here is that your ribs will puff out like mine. So like you soften your ribs down while keeping your chest nice and open. And from here, now you lengthen the crown all the way up towards the ceiling or towards the sky. So you really feel nice and tall. Your arms, like, turn the arms so that the palms face forward. And this will encourage your shoulders to stay nice and open. And from here, going back to the feet, like, root down the feet so that you can stand tall like a mountain. Next to mountain pose is Utthita Hastasana, or arms over your head. So you bring your arms up over your head, keeping everything nice and intact from the grounding of the feet and the stabilizing the torso. So here, you keep your arms nice and straight as much as you can. If you know that you have tighter or stronger shoulders, you can widen your arms or bring your arms slightly forward so that you can really straighten them. Straight meaning your elbows are not bent like this, but straight, reaching towards the ceiling. And like, give it some activity by really engaging your triceps. So you're reaching up. Like a little bit of wrapping of the outer arms. So slight external rotation to keep your chest nice and broad, so you're not like doing like that with your shoulders towards your ears, but keeping the shoulders nice and spacious. And then breathing here. So this is an inhale. So from Tadasana, like here, you inhale, lift the arms up over your head. So you're expanding with your breath. So that's the second pose. Okay, so from the arms over your head, Utthita Hastasana, the next pose is Uttanasana, or forward fold. So this is on an exhale, we fold forward, hinging from the hips. So not from your mid back or from your mid waist, but from the hips. So you fold from here, stretching your arms forward. If you need to bend the knees so that the spine stays long, you can do that. So folding forward, either hands to the shins or to the floor, if you can touch it without rounding your back a lot, or hands on blocks. For today, we'll use the hands on blocks. Then you fold forward. The legs do not have to be fully straight here. If you know that your hamstrings are tighter or stronger, you can always bend the knees. What's important is that the spine stays nice and long when you fold forward. And again, it's from the hips. If you straighten your legs and you round your back like that, okay, we don't want that. So just bend your knees to accommodate your spine. Let your head go down to the floor. Let the weight of your head bring your weight down, so to traction your spine. So this is Uttanasana, forward fold. And also, like, work on straightening your legs by lifting your quads up, or like working those thighs. Think that you're trying to wear a tight stockings and you're pulling your legs up towards your hips. So they're actually engaged as you fold forward. So this is Uttanasana, forward fold. From forward fold, on an inhale is Ardha Uttanasana, or half forward fold. So here, your aim is to parallel your torso towards the floor. If, again, hamstrings are tighter, you can always bend the knees so that you can keep your spine nice and long. The hands can stay on the blocks or on the floor or to the shins. So, and then try not to round the back, broaden across your chest. So how I always try to remember this pose is finding a back bend in your chest. So it's not just like looking forward, but reaching your heart forward instead, so that you're really lengthening the spine forward. So this is on an inhale, half forward fold, or Ardha Uttanasana. And then now from Ardha Uttanasana is we step back to plank. I'll break down the plank to lunge and then plank. So from here, if you're in a block, you take out the blocks on the side, you bend your knees so that your hands can touch the floor, and then you step your, let's say, left leg back, okay, one leg back. And you can be on your fingertips. You can even be still on your blocks if you need to. So just breaking down the plank. So here, your front knee is above of the ankle, and you're really pressing your left thigh back, and it's really straight. Okay, your heel is above of the ball of the foot. So if you check, my back leg is already in half plank, and my torso is already in plank, meaning from Ardha Uttanasana, the half forward fold, my spine is already lengthening forward, and I keep that length as I step my leg back. So my back leg is engaged, my spine, my torso is also engaged. I move my blocks out of the way, palms flat, and I step my right leg back. So now my both legs are back. So now in my plank, my arms are straight, my chest is still reaching forward. And think Tadasana, like what we talked about in mountain pose earlier. So it's the same, tailbone towards your heels while you press your thighs up, and then broaden across your chest so you're not rounding. Okay, broaden, arms straight, thighs up, reach towards the heels. So this is your plank. And if you know that this is too much for you, especially if you're new to it, you can always lower your knees down. Okay, but you can see that is a diagonal. My knees are not directly below my hips, but my spine is still nice and long, and the same position of my arms and my chest. Before we proceed to the next pose, which is Chaturanga Dandasana, I would like to encourage you not to be impatient in the process, but instead really take time to build strength and muscle memory, because it's actually harder to undo if you've been doing it already improperly. This is actually based from experience, because I was already practicing and I didn't know how to do it properly. And when I finally did, it was very hard for me to undo what I already knew. And I had a hard time. So, but thankfully I was persistent and I kept practicing, and my body understood what was needed and actually feels great now. And it's something that I like to teach. So from plank, we will start with the knees down, the modified version. So again, bringing the knees down, keeping the torso nice and intact, so you're not sinking down to the floor, but arms are straight and your navel is in. So in chaturanga is you have to lean forward as if you're going to peep over your mat, keeping the chest nice and wide, hug the elbows in towards the midline. And maybe for your first one, you just start with bending an inch, and that's enough. You don't have to go further. Or maybe you can go further down to the floor, halfway. Okay, maybe that's enough. Eventually, when your upper body becomes stronger, or when you feel ready, you can now bend where your shoulders are in line with your elbows. But try not to round, keeping the chest broad, okay, halfway. And the belly does not drop here. Your chest is still moving forward, okay? There. And we will now do the full pose without bringing the knees down. So it's the same principle from plank, okay? Legs straight, you peep or you lean forward. So you're on your tippy toes, you hug the elbows in, bend the elbows, hug them in, and then do halfway. So this is your chaturanga, legs are straight. So before we go to up dog, just showing you quickly, plank, leaning forward, chaturanga. Okay, torso is Tadasana, and then up dog, we'll just go down for demo. Okay, so starting with the tops of the feet down to the floor. So my legs are actually engaged here. I'm reaching towards my toes, hugging the outer legs in so that my legs are not just playing out to the sides and not squeezing the buttocks so much. So my hands are to the sides of the ribs. So in line, the elbows are in line with the wrist. Shoulders back. So starting with cobra, elbows are bent. So think cobra, like the snake, lifting your chest up, shoulders back, and then hips are heavy. So you can actually stay here in cobra in your practice if you're still like building strength or working on opening your front body or your chest. So now from cobra, if your low back is okay, if you don't have issues with your back, so again, keeping the legs here engaged, tops of the feet down, tailbone towards the back of the heels, and then shoulders back. Now you can start to work on straightening the arms for a full up dog. So your arms are straight, same, shoulders back, and then lengthen towards the crown of the head. The full up dog is your thighs are off of the floor. Okay, so you don't have to throw your head back, you just lift up. Okay, so the legs are engaged, thighs up, shoulders back. Okay, up dog. So from up dog, you can either shift one foot at a time, flip like so, to down dog, or once you've practiced it enough, like hug the belly in, and then flip the toes at the same time, moving them in to bring you to downward facing dog. So in down dog, pay attention to your hands. So spread your fingers nice and wide, like think you're high-fiving the mat, like your index and thumb are pressing down to the floor. Okay, if you have tighter shoulders, widen your arms. Okay, ideally they'll be shoulder width apart, but like adjust so that you accommodate your shoulders and turn your arms out slightly if you know that you need a little bit more space. Your arms are straight. Wrap the outer arms in and then move your chest back and then bring your hips back. So here your head is just hanging down to the floor, maybe gaze towards your feet. Your legs do not have to be fully straight. This comes with time or maybe not, that's fine. Bend the knees just like when we did Uttanasana or forward fold, if you need to, so that the spine stays long. So the same thing, the spine is important, that it stays nice and long. So keep that, and then maybe again, work on straightening your legs by lifting your quads up. If that doesn't work, that's okay. Keep the knees bent and elongate the spine. The ribs may go down to the floor. So same action, bring the ribs in towards the back ribs. Okay, wrap the outer arms and then breathe. So what's important is that your arms are pressing down. That's your foundation. Lengthen your hips up and back. Engage your quads. Lift the quads up. Let your head go. Gaze towards the back. And then create length with your breath. So this is down dog. Also, I find it really stable when I bring my belly in. It gives me a little bit more space to create length. Okay, so from down dog, the teacher may ask you to stay for several breaths. Then at the end of the exhale, we'll just do stepping today. You'll look forward in between your hands, bend your knees. You'll look at where your legs must go. So you aim for that. So in between your hands, we'll start with the left leg steps forward. Okay, if you need to be on your fingertips, do that. So if you think about it, we were here earlier in a lunge, right? So step either foot forward and then you step your left foot forward. Two, together with your right. So you were back in Uttanasana, like half Uttanasana. So again, from down dog, okay, you really have to lift your heels up, engage your arms, and then lift your hips, look forward. You can't drop your hips down because your legs won't have space to step forward. Look forward, push the floor away, step one foot forward, keep the spine long, and then step your right foot forward together with your left or other foot. And then in the inhale is Ardha Uttanasana, or your half forward fold immediately once the feet are forward. And then you exhale, you go back to Uttanasana, forward fold. On an inhale, you lift your arms up over your head, Utthita Hastasana, and exhale back to Tadasana. So if you think about it, like in a Surya Namaskar, each pose prepares you for the next pose. So it's a beautiful set of poses that are linked together, and that is actually what we now call as Vinyasa. So now we will put everything together for Surya Namaskar A or Sun Salutation A. So starting with Tadasana, grounding the feet down to the floor, all corners of the feet, pressing the thighs back, lengthening the tailbone down towards the floor. So that is at the same time. Okay, bringing the belly in, broaden across the chest while you bring the ribs in, okay, and then lengthening towards the crown of the head. Okay, on an inhale, lift the arms up over your head. keeping the torso nice and long and your arms are straight. On the exhale, fold forward, hinging from the hips. We'll bring the hands to the shins, release the head down. Again, you can bend your knees so the spine stays nice and long. On the inhale, halfway lift. Broaden across your chest, thighs back. And then step your feet back to plank. Okay, hands down to the floor, one leg at a time. And then on the exhale, hug the elbows in, hinge forward, and then bend halfway or all the way down. Okay, or showing the modified version, lower the knees down, hug the elbows in, bend halfway. All right? And Chaturanga, you inhale now to your up dog, shoulders back, and the crown of the head up, thighs back, and then exhale, curl the toes, downward facing dog. Okay, pressing the hands firmly down to the floor, spread them wide, let your head go, wrap the outer arms in, press your thighs back. You can keep your heels up or bend the knees. Okay, hollow the belly in so they feel nice and stable. At the end of the exhale, you look forward where you want to land your feet. You step your foot forward, okay, and then the other foot. And then you lengthen halfway again. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hollow the belly as you fold forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. And then inhale, ground your feet. Lengthen all the way up. Arms straight. And then exhale, hands to the sides. Back to Tadasana.